Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast, and here with a familiar face with us today, Aaron, the craziness of life and what we're doing. We're doing this podcast from an RV. First time we've tried pulling this off, and you said it's the first time you've been interviewed from someone inside an RV. So here we go.
And my first thought, Shannon, and this dates me, like I immediately go to the movie Stripes, right? And the whatever military RV that they had. That's what I think of when I hear RV. So you are in there with Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray, and that's what I see you doing right now. So this is great.
As Bill Murray would say in Caddyshack. So I got that going for me. You know?
Yeah, so I guess I got that going for me.
So yeah, we're in north of Dayton, Ohio, heading up to Pennsylvania, and pulled over. Me and Deanna, we've got our little dog Lucy with us here, and we just couldn't wait to interview Aaron for a second time with Lead Ferno. You've got just such a cool program. A lot of folks heard about it. It's probably been a year and a half since I think you were on previously. And there's just so many cool things happening in the industry. I feel like I should explain myself here. I don't know if you're a regular participant and listening to the podcast, Aaron, but I'll save you the dignity of having to say yes or no. Basically, we changed up a little bit of the bow tie and suspenders just in the month of October as mine and Deanna's dedication to Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Deanna having went through the diagnosis of breast cancer and coming out on the other side of that. We are huge proponents of, men encouraging ladies going to get exams, because early detection is so often the key to survival, and just there's so much more that they can do. So if it means making a clown out of myself with a little bit of pink bow tie and suspenders, Aaron, for the betterment of humanity and just as a reminder and bringing awareness, I'm all for it, buddy.
And I think you look dapper anyway. So I'm a guy, besides my wife, I have 3 daughters. So there has been plenty of pink in my wardrobe over the years. There's no shame in that at all. So I think you look great.
Real men wear pink, right?
There you go, Shannon.
All right. So Aaron, tell me a little bit. Let's do a reminder, a little refresher recourse of Lead Ferno, sort of what it is, an overarching view of sort of what you do, to just kind of refamiliarize the audience.
You bet. Lead Ferno is a conversion platform that's powered by messaging. So how that relates to businesses is we help you get more leads from your website by making it easier for consumers and prospects and customers to contact you. So at the end of the day, and some of the things that we'll talk about, I feel like one of the things most businesses miss is just being as easy as possible to work with. And texting has emerged as one of these staples in how people like to communicate and ask questions and get updates. It's how we communicate with friends and family and hobbies and interest groups. And a lot of businesses still haven't brought texting into their staples of phone calls and emails for how they do business. So Lead Ferno makes that easy to happen. We make it easy for your customers and prospects to start conversations with you. And then we have all kinds of efficiencies and features built to make communication easier for your staff. One simple thing I always point out, in the time you might be handling one customer in a 5 to 10 minute phone call, you could have also engaged with 5 to 10 customers in that same time as just one if you're using text and messaging. So a lot of efficiencies, some of those things we can probably touch on today, but we're all about helping businesses work smarter, not harder, maximizing every opportunity they can get to talk to a lead and a customer, and finding efficiencies within your business. None of us need more things to do inside of our businesses. We need better ways to do the things we have to do. And that's what Lead Ferno is all about.
Just choosing to meet the customer where they are is a huge conversation in business owners' minds, I think, because I've been around so many guys that are in business, and what they like is measurable, proven process, guaranteed, low risk, like all of these things. And the climate's changing so often nowadays, though, on how the customer decides to shop versus how you decide to sell. And not only that, but how they decide to communicate. Just communicating to pay their bills. I mean, I'm hearing about RTO companies that are using texting platforms already to communicate with those who might be late on their bill. It's another touch point to get that, letter out that says, hey, you're due or you're overdue. And a lot of people say, well, I just didn't see the email, or it went to junk mail, or they may not be too familiar with it. But almost everybody uses texting, almost everybody at this point.
Yep. And I mean, there's so many things to break down inside of your statement and questions there in what you shared, Shannon. But the biggest thing in that is what you commented on, invisibility, right? Text messages are the most visible piece of communication that we have. Over 99% of text messages are read. When you take a look at what that is in email, like it doesn't even come close to, holding a torch to what that is. And then when you consider, voicemails, you got a voicemail, you didn't see it, you accidentally deleted it. Some people just don't even, if you leave a voicemail, they're just not even going to listen to it anymore because they have easier ways to manage communication. I don't leave my friends voicemails because if they see I have a missed call, then they can text me back or call me back. There's no reason for me to eat up their time leaving a long-winded message or just saying call me back or whatever. So yes, there's a lot of evolution. And when you're trying to make sure that you are seen and heard and you are working in the way your customer works best, sees best, reacts to best, you absolutely need to consider text messaging as part of what's driving that.
So let's talk about a statement that you made early on. Whenever you came on, you said being easy to work with. Being easy to work with is the ultimate goal. It's the ultimate, where you want to be. If you're a manufacturer, if you're in business, if you're trying to use ease to be, the simplicity of it is what everybody's going for. I'm stumbling over my words, but tell me a little bit about being easy to work with. And one of the things you talk about is the golden rule. And I know there's so much more, but I want to let you unpack that a little bit, if you would.
Yeah, Shannon, I've put my stake in the ground on this one, and I feel that being easy to work with is the new golden rule of business. For so long, it obviously most people traditionally would consider to treat others how you'd want to be treated. But I think it's really evolved, and we've seen this in so many other aspects of, especially the businesses that are just either game changers or massively successful. So let me just mention two as examples that people can probably relate to, and then we can talk about how does a small business do these things. So number one for me is Amazon. Let's look at their dominance, and there's really two main things that I can root down to their dominance. Number one is delivery right now, right here. And Amazon Prime, right? That has been one of their biggest game changers. They said, yeah, no matter, what you're buying, where you're getting it from, whatever else, you almost get this immediately. It's why people use it, because you can get that instant gratification where it used to be, well, I can go into a store or go into a place and buy this. Or if I buy it online, I might have to wait weeks until it shows up at my door. Amazon, their research, their buying patterns, they saw what this would do, and they say, no, you can have this possibly even in hours, if not next day or within 2 days. And a whole host of our products are going to have that guaranteed. And the second thing Amazon did early on is realizing how much reviews mattered. And so when you're selling products online and you can't touch them, feel them, smell them, whatever else, they realized, hey, let's let other customers tell their story on what it's like to buy this product, to use this product, to try it on, to plug it in, to take it out of the box, any of those things. So before Google reviews even sniffed the surface to be out there for businesses, Amazon was already collecting and displaying reviews so that even when a company only provided 6 bullet points on their product, now you had 6,000 other customers saying, this is what it's like to use this product. Here's what I think of it. Here's what you should really care about. Here's why you should make your decision. So those two things made Amazon easy to work with. They made them easy to buy from, a no-brainer in how to work with them. And they've done a bunch of others, but those are two of their biggest staples. The next one I can point out is Uber or Lyft. So they took a market where it was so painful, and I'm nearing 50 years old. I used to travel, and you'd have to call a taxi. So look up a number, call a taxi, talks to dispatch. They tell you a rough time a taxi might show up there. I mean, just kind of a painful experience, but one that you had to do in order to get a taxi or go down on the street and hail it. So what Uber and Lyft both did is turn this around and say, hey, great, just go into an app, request a ride, and then we're going to tell you, here are the options that are close to you. Here's where your driver's at. Here's when they're going to be there for you. They can see exactly where you're at. You see exactly where they're at, right? They completely changed the game and crushed a number of cab companies in the meantime with it. So those are just two big company, big idea, game-changing things that we're all familiar with, that at the end of the day, it's still centered back around this easy concept, and basic concept, I should say, of being easy to work with. It's not always easy to achieve that. Now, how does that work for small businesses? Well, you are already doing it in a number of ways. It's already on your mind. It's how you pick your location for, where you're located, where sales lots might be, things like that to get people's attention. How you advertise, where you market. Are you easy to find, right? Do you have billboards and good signage? Do you run print ads? Are you optimizing your search engine marketing? Are you getting reviews on Google? Is it easy to pick you? All those other things. And then we get to communication. That's where I selfishly insert ourselves is, are you making it easy for someone to take that first step to start talking to you? And I really think when your only two steps to start working with you are either physically drive there, pick up a phone and call, or fill out a form on your website, you're missing what most people say, what our studies have shown and other studies have shown, the number one preferred channel of communication now is SMS and text messaging. So when you're leaving out the number one thing that allows them just to ask a question like, are you open? Are you still located here? What can you tell me about this shed or this specific model? Do you have financing options? Basic questions that if they just get that one answer, now they're willing to take a next step in your sales funnel or process and show up to visit you, tell you who they are, any of these other things. That just has to be done. So adopting this easy to work with, you've already done it in a bunch of places. Now you need to look at it. How do we apply that into our communication channels we offer and the process for how we start communicating with people?
At iFab LLC, our passion is welding, fabricating, and design. That's why in 2015, we began to commercially market our product to the shed, portable building, and mini barn industry. Our product is primarily used to build trusses. Our truss saw system cuts boards in one motion, and our truss press system installs and presses the gusset plates to a finished truss. We custom fabricate jigs that assure perfectly symmetrical truss setup without error. We also have other products designed to help your shed builder increase quality, efficiency, and save money. Our precision door tape will build your custom doors square every time and easily adjust to build any door. For products like these or other custom fabrication services for your barn shop, visit ifabllc.com or call 563-422-7496 or simply email us at ifabllc@gmail.com. We talk a lot of times about, creating a website through our one of our latest adventures, the Shed Geek Marketing. And what we found a lot of times is maybe a lot of people don't have an appropriate understanding of what their digital storefront should be. I mean, everybody understands brick and mortar. They understand being able to get in front of a customer on a high traffic, 4-lane area or whatever it is. But then creating your website, part of that is creating your digital presence and you're being socially present too, as well through social media. But even in your website, having, SEO and understanding that getting your page viewed is all about, understanding Google's indexing process and having reviews for them to see once they get there. All of these things are leading to one thing. You're creating a website. Now you're increasing your digital storefront so you can get people on that website, therefore on your property, on your digital property. Now you want to talk to them. That's the whole key, is you want to talk to them. Imagine having a lead show up to your brick and mortar location and you just wave at them and say, it was good to see that you stopped by, but I didn't have a chance to sell you anything today. That's where LeadFno comes in. You're able to communicate with them on the number one avenue and ways of communication. Tell me a little bit of a rabbit trail here, but tell me why people would prefer to communicate SMS versus like chat or something like that.
Yeah, really good point. And again, Shannon, every time you ask me questions and the insight and the things you point out, you give me like 20 other talking points. I have a real hard time just answering your question because you touched on so many other things I would love to elaborate on. Maybe
unpack them,
I'll try to find my way. Try to find my way working through these. So one, your point about websites, absolutely true, right? And I think, again, and I always love the people to understand this in business basics so they can wrap their mind around it. But your website should be as much the same as visiting your business as possible, if not better, because you've removed the barrier of geographically having to visit, spend the time, drive there, when they're available, any of those things. So can you imagine if somebody, drove to your place and wants to take a look at a shed, and they started walking around the structure they're interested in, and you said, no, stop. You can't look at that angle. We don't have that angle for you. You can't go inside it. You can't see inside it. You want to ask me questions about it? No, you can't. Just to your point. Oh, all you can do is wave. So number one, you have to look at your website and be like, everything you can do if you came here and saw us, can you do on my website? And some people say, well, why would I want to do that? I want to get them to my place. I want to talk to them, everything else. If you don't do those things, your competitors are going to, and people are going to gravitate towards who can they trust first, who gives them the most options, who allows them the easiest path to work with, to see the most value, to get the most details. Like, that's where we're at. The race is to be the most helpful, most detailed, most providing resource that's out there. That's who they're going to gravitate towards, rather than the one like, oh, your teasers were really great, and I just knew I wanted to see more because you offered me 2 blurry photos on your website. The next person is going to have a full walkthrough video. They're going to explain everything. They're going to talk about materials and little details. They're going to help you break down payment plans and options and financing, what delivery looks like. They're going to get all of those answers. So you need to do those things as well. And now when we, get to the point, once you've created all that great content, in creating that gives you all these bite-sized pieces to share socially and to put out there in other ways, right? When you take a great video, now you can break it up into 20-second chunks for a TikTok or another format. You have all these photos from different angles that you can use in your social media content and posting to Facebook. Distributing your content, that distribution is so important. It's hard work to get it together once, to do a photo shoot, record a video, all those other things. You should be distributing it 10, 20, 30, 40 times over again, and not just, we released it once and now everybody should know about it. No, like 3 months later, repurpose that same video and put it out again. Take people back. Hey, in case you missed it, here's one of our favorites. Like, you have to continually recycle and put it out there. Just don't do it once and put it out there. So your points on those, I could, dive deep on those all day, but let's get to the question that you answered, Shannon. See, it took me 10 minutes to get there.
Okay, that's all right.
But once you've got them interested enough because you've done the right things and you've earned their trust, make that easy. If they walked into your business and be like, hey, I have a question on this building, and you said, oh yeah, the person that knows that is up on the 60th floor. Walk on up there. You'd get a bunch of people right at that door that turned around and walk out, right? That's just too much. And whether you like to realize it or not, you have people that feel that way when the only way to contact you is by filling out 8 fields in a form questionnaire, or they just don't feel like picking up the phone, or they're not somebody who likes to talk to people. And like it or not, the majority of public has evolved to text messaging. Again, I mentioned this is how we communicate so much with friends and family. It's our most manageable piece of communication. And I think that's why people truly like it, because I get notifications when it's there. I can fire off quick messages. I don't have to write down paragraphs for people. I can do voice dictation of my text that's there. There's just so many reasons. I have a written receipt of what was talked about, right? It's one reason I prefer text over a phone call is I can see what was said, what was promised me, what's going to be happen. If I ever need to screenshot it, and I've sent it back to a home service provider that's there to fix a furnace or do whatever else. And when they're like, oh yeah, no, we had you down for this day. I'm like, no, here in our text message, you said exactly I'm booked for Tuesday. So why aren't you here? So things like that definitely matter. So that's why I think people need to look to that evolution. And because of its popularity, because of its ease for the consumer, a business needs to absolutely consider and take a look at adding that, because they want to be easy to work with. It's what the customer is starting to expect from you, whether your industry has made it there or not. And then the beauty is when you start to discover what are all the efficiencies it opens up for us as a business to be able to operate easier. Obviously, adding one more thing to the plate always feels like more work, right? Like, I get that. I've been doing this for almost 25 years. Once upon a time, having just a web page was an adequate web presence. And then you needed more pages. And then you needed an email address. And then you needed a contact form. And then, oh boy, social media came along and I need Twitter and Facebook and all these other things. Like, I get it. That's not easy. But some of these things, when you add them, when you do them right, when you really start to dig into them, they give you back time. They start to help you invest in efficiencies, free things up, make things more visible. And that's what you're really after, is that constant improvement in a business.
Nowadays, there seems to be so much to choose from when it comes to offering rent-to-own. So many companies have all these promotional items that go along with the rent-to-own program. It's hard to know where the rent-to-own program ends and the shed company begins. At Country Classic Rentals, we believe in doing business the old-fashioned way. Old-fashioned doesn't mean we're not capable. It means we still value a handshake. And we believe when you say something, your word means something. There was a time when you could look someone in the eyes and say what you mean and mean what you say. We have built our company from that philosophy. At Country Classic Rentals, you can be confident that when you produce an RTO contract for your customer, we will make sure that the customer is taken care of when they become our customer. Country Classic Rentals is ready to have exploratory phone calls with shed companies in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, and Tennessee, looking to partner with a trusted and resourceful RTO partner. If you're looking for an RTO partner who will work for you, give us a call at 937-483-4588 or call toll-free at 800-649-5667. Just ask for Stan, and we'll be happy to have a conversation. Country Classic Rentals, the freedom of ownership.
Man, two things.
I'll get off my soapbox. My soapbox.
You're good, dude. You're good. I'm eating it up. I love it. Two things you said there that really stuck out to me. One was early in the conversation that came back to mind. 99% of text messages are read. That's just a staggering statistic, and one that should really like nest in your thoughts whenever you think about, is the customer going to communicate with me? They're almost always going to text you. Everyone, I mean, most people text, right? Like it's very rare. Yep. And I understand that we do have some, lacks in communication. Our industry, has a tendency to be super primitive. But who you're hiring to do those things, to trust with those things are important. If somebody managing your website, is somebody, following up with those leads and those different things. And that's a conversation that we'll get into at some point. The other thing that you said was invest in efficiencies. I wish somebody would just write that down today. Invest in efficiencies. So oftentimes these things are seen as a negative thing. One of my favorite things in listening to Dylan talk about his passion for marketing is whenever he says, our job's not to cost you money. Our goal's not to cost you money. Of course, any service costs money, but our goal is to make you money so that you don't miss what you're spending to be able to make more. Like, our idea is to come in and make you more successful than you already are through the avenues and expertise we've experienced. So investing in efficiencies is terribly important. Kind of a cliche. I don't have the money to do that. You don't have the money not to do that. If you're looking to save time, right? If you're looking to save time. So invest in efficiencies. I feel like I'm going to write down a little note and hang that over my desk. So speed to lead. Engaging with leads fast is a key to success. You've already talked about this some, but unpack that just a little bit more for me. And before you do, I'm just going to let the listeners know, we will have these blogs available. So if you are, we'll put them out on our social media feeds, of course. But if you get the newsletter, the Shed Geek newsletter, go there and take a look at where we've been adding some blog sections to that. And we'll make sure to put some of this information in there so that you can kind of hear straight from what Aaron's talking about in the blog. But to hear it right from your voice, talk to me about speed to lead and engaging with leads fast and why that's a key to success, Aaron.
Yeah, Shannon, speed to lead is a nice phrase for how fast you're responding to an inbound lead. And the numbers and some of the things that have been proven out there are really staggering that I think a lot of businesses aren't aware of. And then after that, really struggle with how to put anything into place to actually support speed to lead, track it, measure it, improve upon it. But let's just look at this. One study that took a look at over 5 million inbound leads found that your conversion rate to get those leads to a closed sale is 8 times higher in the first 5 minutes. That's just an unbelievable drop. You're 8 times more likely to turn that into a sale if you're responding within the first 5 minutes of what's there. And that can be a challenge, right? When we're talking about you're doing a million things, you might be with a customer and whatever else. That's why you need to invest in efficient tools that, like Lead Ferno, when somebody sends in a text, if it's a brand new lead, we send an automatic reply that greets them, sets an expectation on when we're going to reply, and then you can build it to ask an open-ended question, something to further the conversation. But you've immediately in seconds responded to that lead, and you are hitting in that eight times increase in being able to convert that lead. Now, interesting enough, the Harvard Business Review did a study as well, and that they found that only 37% of businesses respond to leads within an hour. So when you're taking a look at ways to differentiate yourself versus your competitors, if they're not responding in that time, now you're already winning with them. And I always point out to people, again, here's a business basic on why this matters. If someone reaches out to you and you don't confirm that you received it, and all the time I fill out contact forms for businesses online and I get no email response, written response, and I have no idea if they received it at all, right? And there's plenty of them that somehow go into the ether, and I never ever hear back, even though I'm saying, I need your service, here's what I need, here's what my problem is. All they have to do is email me or call me that they got that message and follow up, and they would have likely got me as a customer. But they don't respond. And after a certain amount of time, and again, every customer is different, but you're just giving them time to go look for someone else to help them. Because if they don't have a confirmation, if they don't know you care, if they don't know you're going to respond, they go looking for other answers. Because guess what? It's not hard to find other answers, other providers. I use my phone all the time and can just easily look up where else I can buy this, get answers, start to build trust with someone. So when you take a look at, those stats really help to outline why these things can be important for you. And so finding tools and building processes where you're getting back to these leads right away is incredibly important. So not only have we created the tools at Lead Ferno so you can respond fast, there's an automatic message, and then there's notifications sent out so your team knows it's a shared inbox, so that if you have 2 users, 5 users in our platform, any one of those can respond. Who's ever available can get a first response off to be a human response within that time as well. But we've also recently released a report. So we're tracking for you. How fast is your average first reply? What's your average reply times overall? When we bucket all of your first replies, how many fall within a half an hour? How many fall within an hour? How many fall within 2 hours? So you can see what the majority of those things look like. So now you have the ability to track what those responses look like. And again, I compare SMS and email a lot. And do you have any idea on how long it's taking your team to reply to emails? Nope. You don't have any idea. And if you don't have any idea, how are you going to improve it, right? If you want to lose weight, you jump on the scale and you see what that number says, and you start making some adjustments and changes in exercise and diet, and you try to make that number go down. Well, if you're not tracking how fast you're responding to these leads, or you have anything to surface, then you don't understand where you can improve. And ours gets all the way down to reporting this via each user that's in the platform. So you can see you might have 2 strong performers and 2 weak performers. And then you can figure out, how do we create better process? How do we teach, instruct? How do we create visibility for this so that everybody can take part and our weak performers can improve what they're doing? Our strong performers can become leaders. Maybe they're the ones that create the training and put it together for what our standard operating procedure is and be able to take that down the line. But it's just so important to figure out the right process and tools so you can act quickly so that customer feels they've heard, they have an expectation, and you're meeting their needs. And on your business side, you need tools to have visibility, track it, manage it, and improve it. You cannot improve what you can't measure.
I'm going through your blog as you're saying this, and I'm looking at the analytics and the different things it offers. I highly encourage people to go check this out. We'll make sure to put these out again on social media, but also on the Shed Geek newsletter. Yeah, first-time replies. I mean, people are impulsive. Shed shoppers are impulsive. Retail shoppers in general are impulsive. And a lot of times, even if they're not impulsive to close, they're certainly impulsive in their research. And they want responded to, right? And they're the customer, so they expect that they're being served. Of course, you offer a nice product, but are we beyond, at this point, the conversation about everything sells itself, especially in the retail market, where a good salesperson who's actively engaged will outperform a salesperson who's just letting things be, right? So if you're actually going out and you're engaged, and it seems like there's like this maturity in the shed industry, specifically in the sales space, over the last year or two, if not more, where we are tracking that. We are starting to see where sales managers are either being hired or they actually have a more meaningful understanding of what their role is. And part of that includes developing their team, not just letting things be or take your best guess at it, but instead, like you said, have a measurable objective to say, listen, this isn't, these 2 guys over here are performing at A level, you're performing at D. We're not trying to make you feel bad for your performance. We're trying to bring you to A level. Okay. And we got to know what you're doing wrong or the things that you're doing that aren't working to bring you to that A level. And by measuring what that performer's doing, we can see that.
Yep. And it comes into the recipe before it, right? The end result is sales, right? Most people are going to judge on sales numbers, dollar volume, units moved, whatever that might be. But their success lies in all the things that come before it, right? Like the number of opportunities. Are you following up with them? How fast are you following up with them? How complete are you? Are you working them through the sales process and funnel that we have? So it's about improving the equation, and then you get the end result that you want. And that's where so many, sales leaders a lot of times can lose that focus where they're like, oh, this guy, or gal can't close. They can't do this, whatever else. Here's their numbers aren't there. Well, it's like, so let's look to the front of the equation. What's going wrong in the process? And when you have tools that bring forth that visibility, or you can look through the beauty with Lead Ferno as well. As an admin, I can look through and I can see every conversation my sales team is having. So I can find those teachable moments in the conversation to when they didn't reply fast enough, when they gave incorrect information, when they should have been asking some questions to lead the customer along and get them to divulge the solution they really want, or what's really important to them, or what's the timetable on their decision. I can see what's missing from the playbook we know that works. So having that visibility to look through that is incredibly important. And again, with email, most businesses don't have that. You don't have visibility to go into your salesperson or employee's email and look through those conversations and easily designate those or define those or figure out which ones need help, attention, or have those teaching moments within them. So I just think that is, so incredibly important to be able to take a look at those things and break them down to figure out where can we improve in the process. And the other thing I want to point out, Shannon, to people, so I'm talking about text a ton, but I want everyone to realize our number one goal is to start a conversation, and text is great for starting a conversation. It doesn't mean it has to stay there. So if you get them to ask a couple of questions over text and you want to move them to a phone call, you want to move them to setting an appointment, you want to send them an email with a bunch of information, PDFs, photos, wherever there might be, do that. Our number one goal is to do that. Some consumers, again, if they choose, they might want to stay in text. Some of your staff might want to stay in text because it's efficient and they like all these different variables we're talking about. But at the end of the day, if you know, hey, here's where we do our best work. I was just talking with one of our customers that their close rate on phone is like twice as high as text. They've tracked it, they measure it, and they know it. So guess what they do? They answer a couple questions and be great. Can we jump on the phone to answer these questions further? Because there's questions I want to ask. I promise you it'll only take 10 minutes, but it allows them to do what they do best in their sales process. They use texting to create more opportunities and then use whatever channel is best to get their close. So by no means am I telling you to run all of your business via text. I'm saying identify the things that work best for you in your sales process regarding your product and how you do things, and leverage those. Use text what it's great for and leverage it where you need to.
Hello, shed sellers. Let's take a moment to discuss the shed customer and meeting their expectations. I remember growing up in the neighborhood where a certain percentage of the houses had well-manicured lawns and well-manicured homes. These were the type of individuals who felt it was important to purchase a well-constructed home or vehicle, or maybe equipment to help maintain the quality of the item. As shed manufacturers, we seek to provide a well-built quality shed. We want the customer to feel satisfied that their hard-earned money has been well spent on a product that will last. At LuxGuard, we believe adding high-quality rubber flooring to your line of sheds makes sense to the customer and adds value the customer can appreciate. With each year, sheds are becoming more complex. The customizations we are seeing are virtually endless. LuxGuard not only gives a complimentary aesthetic appearance for their shed, but also protects the floor from spills and keeps cleanup simple. Offer your customer the customer service they seek with LuxGuard. At LuxGuard, we are committed to delivering exceptional customer service and innovative products to help our customers achieve their goals. We strive to meet the evolving needs of the customers. To speak with one of our ready-to-serve customer product specialists, simply call 336-468-4311. To see our product and view an installation video, just visit our website at luxguard.com. LuxGuard, the floor that lasts a lifetime.
Before we get into our next point, I'm going to take another rabbit trail real quick. I'm curious your thoughts on this. How do like ChatGPT and AI generated responses, how do those play into your thoughts for things like this? Do you see those as a pro or a con, or I'm curious at how you would like navigate through that, especially for like bill pay or things like that. But even having a canned template, ready to go, and just, can you create those things through automated AI generated responses? Do you see that as a positive thing or negative thing? I'm curious.
Yeah, so I'll try to be succinct on this because there's a lot of rabbit holes this thing can tree off once we get underground on it. I would say my number one guiding principle is where we're at right now. The biggest thing we want to do is we want to scale human interaction. That's what we want to do. We want to make it so one human can communicate a whole lot more. Now, I've already played around with AI a lot in a number of different ways. I use it in some of my processes in creating marketing and content and things like that. But there's a couple of things that I keep coming back to. Number one, when people are using tools like texting or live chat, one of the number one things that they want to do is they want to connect with a human. That's really ultimately their goal is I want to talk to someone who can listen to my needs and help me ask the right questions, do whatever else. Now, unfortunately, most of the chatbots that are out there and things like that, I really call them like glorified navigation or babysitters, right? They're trying to point you to a direction of content that already exists. That's what they have readily available. Oh, that's here on this page. Here, we wrote an article on that. It's not really giving whether the prospect or customer knows what they really want subconsciously is I want to talk to a human. And you're just kind of putting things in their way that might be placating them a little bit, leading them around a little bit. You're still trying to get them to an answer, but probably not how they want to get to that answer. So that's one thing I tell people to keep in mind. And that, and I know you mentioned this earlier, when people decide, right, our widget helps start a text conversation from your website. And a lot of people are familiar with live chat tools. Well, for most small businesses, there's a ton of drawbacks in live chat tools. One, they can be hard to train your office staff on. You might only have one or two office people that feel comfortable enough to jump on a live chat, man it, turn it on, remember to turn it off when they go to lunch, those kind of things. Where texting is asynchronous and it's something everyone already uses. So we have all kinds of companies where they had one person manning live chat. If they're on vacation, they're out sick, they're not offering live chat. Or you click their live chat and it says, oh, sorry, agent not available, fill out this form. Our studies found over 50% of people leave a website when they get agent not available on a live chat. That's a dead end they don't want. Again, they want a human. And so they went from having just one person comfortable and trained on this to 25 plus people with an account with LeadFno, because you don't have to train people on how to text. We already know how to do that. All that we have to show them is these other business features that are there. And so one of the things where you asked about, one of the ways where I can see us eventually moving AI into our product is we already have a feature where you can create a library of saved templates. So these can be replies, pre-sales questions, links on how to find things, but you can pre-write all those out. And then just within a click or a tap, depending upon if you're on your desktop or mobile app version of our product, you can call in that reply. You can call in that information, that link, that question, and it's already pre-written for you and you can send it off. You can edit it if you need to, but give you a great starting point and allows you to do a number of things in just seconds instead of minutes to write something out, especially something you're repetitively answering or writing over and over again. What I see us eventually doing is using AI to give you suggested replies like this, because we've already ingested your website content and the natural machine learning things that are out there and natural language progression. So when the AI sees that question, it says, hey, based on what's on your website and how you've interacted with other questions, here's a suggested response for you. So that's one way that we've looked at bringing AI into it. I've ran tests and put things into through having AI do the responses. And I just think there's way too much at risk to do that. If your business is so full of leads that you really don't care the type of service that you're giving each customer and you're trying to make them through it, like, good for you. Like, you have figured out marketing and your cost per acquisition and all these things so amazingly. Most businesses, this is not the case at all. And in fact, what we're failing to do is to maximize that connection and interaction with every single customer that we can, and squeeze as much juice from that as we can, instead of thinking, oh, if people I can't be bothered with questions unless it's a buying question, right? Any question is a buying question. Take the time to answer it right, to give them the love they need, build some trust. If they disappear, work them into some other funnels. Now at least you know who they are. You have a way to contact them. There's just so many opportunities with that. So yeah, I see AI as a supporting tool. AI is not the answer. You should not be, oh, if I can just connect my prospect with AI. AI doesn't give a crap if you make a sale that day. They're not motivated to turn that buyer from a lurker into a lead, a browser to a buyer. They're there to give answers, supply content, read a question and give a good answer, and they can do those things. But I've yet to see anything that duplicates that human feel of dopamine, or getting excited about closing someone, or getting them on site, or getting the paperwork in front of them, right? Like that's a human thing. And we haven't duplicated that yet.
It's all about sales. They say it's a transfer of enthusiasm, and that's genuine when you're helping the customers.
Yep.
It's beyond, that little dopamine boost goes beyond just getting the sale. If you're truly engaged in your customer and helping your customer, there's sort of an excitement about being able to help them find what they need whenever you become the solution to what they were looking for. So, no, very good. And you mentioned something there towards the end. You were talking about, at least you have their information. That kind of comes back to these little words that I like to focus on whenever I'm talking to people about sales, and that's targeting and retargeting. And you know that area in the marketing space. And part of that is, there's been so many like coaching services and things like that hit the industry over the last year. And the one thing you're going to find that, not diminishing their programs by any means, but a large portion of that program will consist of these two little words called follow-up. So tell me, what's your thoughts on follow-up, and how can LeadFno help that, transition that process?
Yeah. Shannon, you already hit on this earlier when you're talking about just emails not being seen, and follow-up sales emails are incredibly easy to ignore, right? Like they see the subject line, they see who it's from, and they're just like, pass. I know this person's going to ask me to buy or to take a next step, and my mind's not there right now. I don't want to deal with that right now, right? So easy to ignore. So, and then we get back to, again, the visibility with text, right? Text is seen. When you're sending this message, it is being seen. So if the customer still chooses to ignore that, they can. It's not as easy to ignore because texting by nature is just more of a personal channel, right? To like leave a text unanswered is something we don't do to our friends, our family, anything else. And the good news for businesses, when you respect it and you do it the right way, your text messages get replied to on that side as well. I see it all the time. I can send emails following up with people, and then when I go and send them a text, they respond to it. And to me, there's a couple of different keys that you can do with it. So we all have people where the lead starts out hot. They have a couple of questions, and all of a sudden it goes silent, right? And you get ghosted. We're right around Halloween, so the term works perfectly, right? You get ghosted, that it disappears. You can no longer see that lead engaging with you. So we have a couple of features. One I've already talked about in Lead Ferno, where you can combine them to work together to do re-engagement on your behalf. So you use that shortcuts feature I was talking about that has the saved replies, and you create maybe a 3 text series that has to do with, hey, we were talking about this. I just want to see, are you still interested? And that's message number 1. Number 2 is, I've tried you a couple of times. I just want to know, can you let me know where do you want to go from here, right? Instead of, rephrase the question a little bit differently, put it in their control. That way they can easily answer and say, I'm not interested anymore. I want to go this direction, or no, I do want to re-engage, whatever that might be. And then create a third one. And then you use our feature of scheduled messages. So you create these. So in one click, I can put it into the message. And then in another couple clicks, I can say, send this Friday at noon. And then I create the next one. I say, send this Monday at noon. And another one, send this Wednesday at noon. So now I have an every other day cadence where it's sending out these scheduled messages. If the consumer replies to one of them, when you go into that conversation, you see these scheduled messages already there. They're anchored to the bottom. They're in orange or in a different style in our product. You can just hit the X and kill those off if they respond to number 1 or respond to number 2. You can kill off whichever one is there. So this allows you, when you're looking at, okay, if I'm going to spend an hour right now and go through my dead cold leads, and maybe I've already used our feature of tagging where I can just create a tag that says cold, and I've marked it cold. Now I just do a filter and it shows me 20 conversations that have gone cold, and I can go into each one of them, and within 10 seconds I can set up 3 different days over a week's time of reaching out to that customer. So now spending less than an hour, I have 3 follow-ups with all 20 of those customers that the system's automatically going to send for me. So that's just one way of getting back to them to try to engage them on that can be of help. In your sales process, if you're already asking once they're texting, if you ask for their email, anything else, now you can put them into any of your email nurturing campaigns when you're sending things out to them. In these scheduled messages, you could include a photo of maybe a new model or something they were looking at before, use the visual to refresh their memory, maybe a photo of someone else that just got a delivery of it and put it in place. Hey, here's someone else in this community bought one. Here is it on their place. Give them a visual of how to do it. So there's so many things you can mix into that. But it can just take you a minute to set up multiple interactions that the system will automatically send out for you to try and re-engage them. And all businesses have this. Not everything's going to go smooth right off the bat. You're not going to be able to keep interest right away, but you should develop processes that with one piece of work, you can get maybe 6 times the output out of it once that system runs for you.
I know this might even sound kind of silly, but I feel like this is the reality. At least I'm taking my own experiences into my thoughts here. But that less invasive text versus a call saying, hey, this is my 7th follow-up, or like me and some guys were joking when we were at the recent Shed Expo, my 17th follow-up on trying to get you to buy a shed. That text seems a little bit less aggressive, which can be, I think, a good thing, because people fear salespeople, and the idea that their constant follow-up, their steady follow-up, could be seen as aggressive or pushy is the word I think that is our Achilles heel in the sales world. But really, it's just consistency, and consistency through a text message. I think, of course, it could be ignored quicker than that phone call and an actual conversation, because whenever you do answer, and if you didn't realize it was them, or even if you did, the conversation almost kind of turns to that, right? You get that big sigh, and it's like, oh, it's you again. and now you've got to overcome this obstacle. Whereas the text is a little less threatening. It's just this constant follow-up, this steady, hey, we're here if you need us. And not only that, it gets read, whereas the phone call might not get answered, and they'll see your name because it's saved, and it'll be connotated with like this. The connotation is it's a negative thing. Oh no, Aaron's calling me again. He's trying to sell me Lead Ferno again.
You might be calling when they're dealing with something else, when they're in the middle of something else, they're spending time, right? And again, that's the beauty of text, is like that message is there for them when they choose to engage with it, instead of having to catch them at the right time and put in their focus. And, businesses can test out what works best for them, but with text message, again, it's a channel built around brevity. Short messages win the day. So when you can do something short just to check in and then just ask a quick, easy question, it's really easy for that customer to start engaging with you again, right? You're just fostering that conversation. And so I really say most of these, like, you should be ending it with a short and sweet question, right? Are you still interested? Could I send you more photos? Where do you want to go from here? What's your next step? Have you made any progress? Any of those things that just allow someone to respond, you're at least getting a response. Even if the response isn't what you wanted, they tell you no, then you can be like, great, understood. Would you just care to share with me why it's a no? Then you might get an answer that you can attack or try to redirect. There's just a lot to be done between using text, the art of sales and conversation, and being smart about it in a very personal, caring way that SMS just plays so well to.
Hello, Shed Sellers. Did you catch the latest Real Work Labs interview with George Converse? If not, don't miss this value-packed episode. Head to Shed Geeks Podcast YouTube and search Real Work Labs. George and the Real Work Labs crew are riding the wave of Google's latest updates, taking your digital presence to the next level. We're tech artisans crafting your neighborhood brand voice for shed sellers like you to stand out, gain trust, and get found online. Our software will easily capture your work snapshots, videos, weave your craft's story, and get reviews all in one virtual experience. Our innovation goes beyond getting found for your business location, rather getting found for your work locations. Reviews intertwine with their corresponding job sites. When potential customers seek local expertise, you're the proven solution they'll find. It's high time to map your reviews and showcase your beautiful work in a meaningful way that builds trust in customers' neighborhoods. Ready for the journey? Visit shedgeek.realworklabs.com or call George today at 480-787-7575. Real Work Labs, elevating your trust, increasing your conversions, and getting you found where you work in the neighborhoods you serve, one shed at a time.
No, I love it. So for the non-techie minds out there, the guys that hire a service to take care of all of their tech world or whatever, break this down real quick, how this works, simple plug-in, snippet of code, that way they can kind of understand how to transform that information, or how you can even be in contact with their web developer.
Starting with Lead Ferno, you go to our website. We have a 2-week free trial. When you sign up takes all of about 5-6 minutes. You're going to upload your logo, put in your business information, and then complete the account. Once that's set up, then it's sending a line of code to your web person. That's what embeds our buttons that give them the call to actions of, hey, text us, we'll answer questions. There's a number of options you can configure with those. So usually for your web person, or if you yourself have access, it's a 2 to 3 minute install and over and done with. We're there to help if you need help, but once that's set up, then you're up and running. We're willing to do a demo. We're willing to do a training with your team. We have a number of videos out on our YouTube channel, from a full 20-minute demo down to 3 to 5 minute videos on specific features like shortcuts and auto replies and how to transfer conversations to people. So you can pick that up and take it in how you want visually, as well as we have a written help guide as well. So, the barrier, we have plenty of people. I've had people literally in 5 minutes are up and running and able to start texting with prospects and customers. So that's definitely not difficult. And if there's anything you hit a challenge or a speed bump with, we're here to help you and smooth it out.
And because it's a snippet of code, it pretty well works with any website, template, WordPress, GoDaddy, Wix, I'm sure all of the above.
Yep. Installed on all of those. We have a specific plugin for WordPress, so that can make that installation even easier on WordPress. But so far in all my dealings, I've only had one proprietary type of a website in the real estate industry where it just wasn't possible. And yeah, that software, I got into the back end of it and it looked so old. I can't believe they still had customers on it. But yeah, for the vast majority, it's going to work as advertised. If it doesn't, you probably have some other problems you don't even realize with what your web platform is, but sure. it works pretty universally.
Sure. Price point, did you want to discuss any of that information today before we go?
Yeah, we start at $150 a month, and that includes up to 10 users and 1,000 text messages. So it's just a flat fee. No matter how successful you are, you can have one person on it, you can have 10 people on it. And then there's plans that go up from there if you need more users or more messages. I will say for the majority of people, we easily understand if you have up to 10 people, your message volume is likely right in line with that. That's always, anytime you have something with a limit, people ask, well, what happens? Well, we just monitor. If you go over, we have a conversation with you like, hey, you're doing 2,000 messages a month. You should move up to our next plan. We don't shut you off at the 1,000 and first message. We're in this long term. So we just talk to you and be like, hey, have you been doing big marketing campaigns? Is that why this is higher? Do you consider this to be normal? And if it's normal, let's move you to a higher plan because we've seen you're higher the last month or two. So really easy to understand our plans and to pick the right one that works for you. You can upgrade or downgrade at any time based on your usage or what's going on as well. No contracts. So it's month to month. It's on us to earn your business. We do offer a discount if people want to pay annually, but you can engage in that at any point in time while you're working with us.
Excellent. No, and it's something that just came back to mind earlier, and we'll get out of here. But I was thinking about how you were talking about the written receipt. It almost works like a little SMS CRM kind of. You've got your own little service of at least what you've talked about. And I know 10 times already this week I've relied on mental notes, and my goodness, are they dangerous? Yep. So I'm getting older. I don't, I'm pushing towards that 50 too, Aaron, as well. But,
yep.
Hey, still young at heart, right?
Shannon, some days I'm in the shower wondering, did I already wash my hair or not while I'm still standing in the shower, right? So some days I might wash my hair 3 times. If I think it, I automatically do it again because I'm just going to make sure it's not 0 times. So I hear you on those mental notes, but yeah. That's a great point. I should also point out too, like we have an API and even more easier is Zapier, which is a no-code app that allows you to connect things. So our most common integration and automation is transferring leads from Lead Ferno into people's CRMs. So you can connect us to HubSpot. You can connect us to Salesforce. You can connect us to Jobber. So the CRM that you're using, you can get data out of Lead Ferno and populate that into your long-term CRM for a single point of truth too.
Perfect. Dude, I absolutely love what you're doing. Hey, something I've been doing, didn't prepare you for this. Something I've been doing recently on the last, 10 or so podcasts. So I'm catching you completely off guard here. I've actually been giving the guest a opportunity to turn the microphone around, 1, 2, 3 questions, whatever makes sense to you. Just anything that you could think of, personal, shed related, whatever related, doesn't even matter, and interview the interviewer. So 1 question or 2 questions real quick. I know we're pretty close on time here. Anything that comes to mind, anything that you would ask if you had the microphone, Shed Geek related or anything at all? Anything at all come to mind?
Yeah, I'm excited, Shannon, as a business owner and a marketer myself. I know you're really excited with the growth you guys are seeing with your marketing services. What is the one service inside of what you're offering that you're most excited about right now that either has the most traction, the most capabilities, getting the results for people? What is the one right now that you are just super excited to get more and more of your customers using?
So to answer your question about excitement, it has to be video. Mainly because video content is a primary source of communication, much like texting. It provides a visual. We created a campaign for Summit Portable Buildings that had no words in it whatsoever and told a story. And I love being able to create videos like that. I'm a big art guy. I love to draw. I love creativity. So for me, I love doing anything that is first mover's advantage. I mean, I created a podcast when there was no space there. So like whenever you can sit and create anything that's different, it doesn't have all the things that business people want, like measurable objectives and proven processes. You're kind of a trailblazer and such, but every personality test that I take comes back to trailblazer. It doesn't come back to old reliable. It's always the guy who's like, let's do this. Hey, I think this will work. And, I think God created us. And I think through that, because of that, we're to be creative. So, I mean, I use that to my advantage, and I really enjoy that. So video is the thing I'm most excited about. But in terms of practicality, I mean, in our space, retail space, I still say having a professional with Google Ads and Meta Ads is just absolutely imperative. And that's one thing that Dylan has, I don't want to say mastered, but man, I don't know that I've found anybody better than that. Our SEO guy is on top of his game. So, I mean, like there's a lot of cool things. But I just love the ability to create and kind of dream with the customer because I'm selling fun. I'm in a pink bow tie and suspenders on a podcast. That didn't happen 10 years ago in the shed industry, Aaron. So for me, I'm selling fun and I'm having fun at what I'm doing. And I kind of feel like if you can make money while doing that, you've kind of, reached the pinnacle of maybe like your own personal success, if nothing else. So I'm loving it. But video is what excites me, man. I want to do more videos in the industry. We locked one down in Indiana this last week. We're going to be doing more of that. I love to tell those stories, man. Love to tell those stories through video. That's cool.
That's awesome. Good for you. I'm right with you. If anyone couldn't tell, I like what I do. I like what we're building and how we help people, everything, right? Like having that passion is so much fun. So that's great to hear about yours.
Well, we'll make sure to put the blogs on the newsletter. There'll be a link for those who want to go and sign up. We've already got that affiliate partnership there with Lead Ferno for those who want to go and know more about it. If you have any questions, you just want to message me, you want to get in touch with Aaron. Hey, worst case scenario, you can go to leadferno.com and start chatting with them, right? And test out the goods.
Yeah, there you go. And let's do this too. Let's provide motivation is always part of good sales and marketing. So if you are trying out Lead Ferno from listening to this podcast, I'll give you 50% off your first month. So once you sign up, then send me an email and say, hey, I heard you and Shannon talking about this on the Shed Geek podcast. And that'll take your first month down to just $75 for that first month after the 2-week free trial. So let's save you some money and get you hooked on the great things we can do and let us be of help, and we'll go from there.
I love it, man. I love being able to help people save money. That's awesome. Very gracious of you guys over there at Lead Ferno. Hey, man, I think we're going to get back on the road. We're going to see what the rest of what Ohio has to offer. But this has been fun. This is my first RV podcast, so I'm excited about it. It's really neat. I don't even think I could take my let's see.
I think next time, Shannon, I want to do it next time I want to do it while your wife's driving and then you're in motion, right? And you can just list off the mile markers and exit signs as we're going down the road.
We'll make it happen, my friend. We'll make it happen.